Cool, man. Well, honestly, good to be here with you.
Okay,
and,
is that going?
Yeah, we can roll anytime.
Yeah.
It is good to be here. Kind of a weird synchronistic situation where
Absolutely.
I haven't been following you for that long, and connected through Instagram, and I think it was the same thing. Someone like pointed me to your work. It was like, you're gonna love this guy's stuff, and I was cruising around a couple of your posts and reels and things, and I was like, oh yeah. I think in particular it was one where it was like a bunch of images of people doing breath work and all this kind of stuff, and you were just talking some really grounded, straight up shit, which I was like, yes, this exactly. And then I think I shared or commented on it, and and then I was coming out of Mexico, and we chatted a little bit in the DMs, and you're like, dude, you should come over to the Caribbean side. And I was in Oaxaca, and I was like, oh, it's not really in the cards. And then ended up, I was supposed to go to Puerto Escondido, big storm hit, so I came this way. And then I remembered that you mentioned that, and I was like, man, we got to sit down together and record a podcast and get together. So thank you for having me. Just graciously inviting some internet stranger into your place. And it's cool I always love doing these things live, like in person. And I also, I just really like to meet the people that I respect and honor kind of in the online space to get a sense of who they really are. So we've had, I don't know, maybe an hour or so to drop in and connect together, and it's been really awesome. And I'm excited to just have a conversation with you today.
Oh man, thanks for having me here. It's been a joy and very lovely to have you in our place, which is where we're doing this interview. And I can't wait to continue to plan out these tantra retreats. And,
exactly.
All the great things we're going to do together.
Yeah, absolutely. For anyone,
we need to probably emphasize it's a joke.
Totally. We just came back from a sacred ketamine and cacao ceremony right into this, so we're a little elevated right now. You know what I mean? But we've been eye gazing to kind of ground in and drop in, and we're really in our masculine frame right now.
Exploring the radical monogamy together.
Yeah, we're super deep. This is why we came down here, right?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
so, this place holds all the ancient codes, and we're going to share all of our spiritual knowledge with everybody listening today.
There's going to be some downloads that come through throughout this, for sure.
I'm going to end with a bit of light language, so don't remind me, just to end this podcast on like the most highest vibration.
Absolutely. We have to make sure that we raise it as high as we can possibly get, right? We hold our masculine frames, eye gaze, maybe even a little bit of primal grunting throughout it.
That.
Obviously like the goal of this is to raise the vibration of everyone watching.
Yeah.
And
make as much money as possible
while putting people into psychosis. Yes.
Exactly. So anyone listening or watching this, like, what the fuck? One of the things that I really resonated with what you do is, and I think that I've definitely stepped more into in the last year or so, 6 months to a year, is not only kind of taking the piss out of spirituality, but actually bringing like a more grounded approach to things that honestly both of you and I have experienced and have woven through some of those communities, but certainly now that having some distance, at least I can speak for myself, like see a lot of the kind of distortions and the superficiality and the performance, like the performative aspect of New Age and modern spirituality and stuff like that, which is unfortunate because there's a lot of really powerful and transformative opportunities that get kind of washed out and masqueraded by all this kind of stuff, and we're very approximate to the epicenter of a lot of this.
30 minutes north of Tulum. So
So, but I want to ask you a little bit about that. Like how did you get into? How did those views develop for you, and what's kind of your history in coming into a more what you'd say like grounded kind of spiritual?
Yeah, I mean, I do this not when I've poked fun throughout my career in the online space. It's really not to humiliate or dehumanize in any way. And there have been times where I've crossed that line and felt really fucking bad about it. But I was atheist my whole life. I'm 34 now. When I was 27, something just cracked open for me. It was actually natural. It wasn't induced by anything. And I had like no spiritual or even really religious foundation at the time to work with. I went to Hebrew school growing up, but I didn't fucking learn anything there. So, my background actually from an academic level is in economics, political science. I went to law school, but I kind of felt myself swept up into this New Age sphere because I was looking for something to give me a template or system for what I was encountering, the trauma that was also coming up in my system. Like it had gone beyond the point of where I felt therapists were really giving me help. So I was looking for alternative modalities and things of that nature. And I won't even go into the being bedridden and ill for 4 years prior to this, but that, if we come into that filtered into this, and being open to alternative modalities, alternative medicine. And so I explored this new age space. I was working with people who called themselves shamanic healers. Sometimes the experiences that were happening felt interesting and different and, you know, almost magical in a way, you know, and you get swept up in it. And you're like, wow, like, you can create my reality. Like, my trauma's not real. These belief systems don't have to be real. And like, it becomes this incredible numbing agent, like almost an opioid, right? And so I speak from this place and level because I experienced it personally. Like, I went into, I would say, moderate to even severe psychosis. And a lot of these things that like were pulling me into the state were like encouraged by different online influencers or practitioners I was meeting. And when I was going for like the deeper trauma work around like, yo, like I have this incredible grief coming up or this shame coming up, I was often told to bypass it or these emotions weren't real. And so it took a couple years of like becoming incredibly numb, incredibly disassociated. I was working with a trauma level with people at a time, right? I was able to be there just enough. But something cracked one day and I was like, this is all fucked. Like, this is really messed up. And the way that I'm feeling right now is not normal. Like, this is not conducive. This is not healthy, no matter how many times different practitioners are telling me this is. Mm-hmm. And so I just, you know, started really practicing discernment and started really assessing what is working, what's not. I think people are very well-intentioned, but like, I just noticed a lot of the magical delusional thinking. And, you know, as someone who wanted to be a lawyer, like I understand that like, you know, doctors, lawyers, engineers, like you're going to school for multiple years before like you're stepping out and offering services. And then it's like, you can take a Reiki workshop for 2 weeks and like run your, like, you know, just do all this jazz, whatever it is, right, over someone. But there is something legitimate to energy healing, but it's like, there's no framework or something to hold anyone responsible. And so I was like, this is madness. And as I started working with my own trauma more and really, really employing these modalities and techniques from a real grounded lens, I started noticing myself get better. I started actually noticing my health get better. So I noticed the wisdom and the medicine in this. Like, I'm not here like to push it away. I think too many people do that. I think they're like, oh, this is all ridiculous and bullshit. It's like, no, like there's something here that our medical industrial complex is missing, you know, that big pharma is clearly missing. But it's just, there's a mountain of bullshit on top of it. So I came out from this place of, we've got to dissect and discern and start scraping out like all the BS that's kind of hiding under these things that can be really helpful to people. And honestly have a chance to, these are big words, but like revolutionize the way that we look at human health and human psychology. But we have to call things for what they are. And I don't think there's a space often in these spheres to do that, right? So that's my long about story of.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's so much there that we can go into, and we will. But generally this idea that, like, I like this idea that I'm pretty sure it's right in your Instagram bio, and I said a few times here, it's like, we can be having this deep, profound spiritual experience and be totally grounded. Yeah. Right. And I think that what gets missed a lot in these kind of spaces is that, no, you have to blast off. That's the spiritual experience. So you have to do and I love all those modalities. Like, oftentimes people think that I am just some curmudgeon that's like, fuck all, like breath work is stupid, or whatever, like plant medicine. It's like, no, I still actively engage in bits and pieces of those things. Yeah. But I also understand that these tools are just that. They're just tools, and they might give us a little more access to ourselves, temporary amounts of time. Yeah. But the unfortunate reality of, in my experience and the people that I work with, many of my clients and people that I've met, is that it's kind of the day-to-day grind of doing the real normie kind of practices and things, and like getting good therapy and getting, you know, just access to yourself in ways that are kind of boring and uninteresting, that seem to actually move the dial the most.
Yeah, very boring and uninteresting. And like, you know, some of my clients will know that we sometimes just spend large amounts of time being like, what does it feel like to like feel your ass on the seat? You know, like what does it feel to like feel like your lower spine? It's like, well, it's like, well, this is where you start cultivating safety, you know? And it's like, but it's like we have to build up that base or foundation so that you can go up here and anchor those experiences
Exactly.
in. And yeah, I think a big problem in the space is they ignore like foundational, like developmental psychology.
Yeah.
Like everyone needs a sense of self. Like everyone needs a sense of identity. And so when you're given these, like all this verbiage around the self is not real, you are just a figment. And it's like maybe from like the fucking bufo level, like the DMT level for 10 minutes, that's true.
Yeah.
But to like have a healthy human existence where you're relating to people correctly and not a narcissistic asshole, like that's not fucking true. Like you are, like it's just not fucking true. Like you are a fucking person.
And
like,
and your life doesn't represent it either. Like you know what I mean? It's like you're not you're speaking from this elevated place, but the way that your life looks like is like do your fucking taxes or whatever it is. Like you know what I mean? I don't love that, but like the average thing, like learn how to cook. Like you know what I mean? Like whatever it is, but. Yeah, so much of that I think is what you're speaking to is in many ancestral and many historical accounts, I have an understanding that the foundations of spiritual practice and cultivation took like years and decades to develop before you could reach these higher states. Yeah. Now we kind of have this shotgun approach where we could just like literally, I took some pictures. Did I send them to you? I think so. In Tulum. Yep. I've never been there before. And there's like billboards for Bufo. Like I sent you a picture of these small little things, but there's a fucking billboard that was like, it just says do Bufo. For anyone listening that doesning know what Bufo is, it's 5-MeO-DMT. It comes off the back of a frog. Bufo, I think just means frog. But it's like a very intense psychedelic experience. It can be quite short. I've never done Bufo myself, but I've worked a lot in the DMT realm. And people go and they see aliens and they see this, that, and the other, and they come back and it's like, it's not a whole lot to grasp onto there, but also the idea of the total colonization and proliferation of like these sacred indigenous medicines and where you're putting them on fucking billboards where like, oh, I came to Tulum or wherever to party and get drunk and go to the club and be an influencer and oh, hey, I saw Ibogaine. Yeah. I'm just gonna do some Ibogaine. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, sure.
What could go wrong?
Sure. What could go wrong? I'm a little hungover, but like, you know, this whole thing and the fact that there's an industry built around it. These people are putting advertisements out. I imagine there's people that, you know, are getting interested and they're getting clients and they're having these experiences. And there's just, like you said, there's no college of physicians. There's no governing body in any of this work. And
you can wear a flat brimmed hat and that might be enough to be a shaman.
For sure. Yeah. And then like people get so spun out. Right. And the psychosis, which truly like, I think it's also kind of, for these days, part of that, because we have no sangha, we have no community that holds us in this stuff. We have no like proper initiatory practice where it's going in a unilateral direction of development because our culture is so fractured, like especially in the West, that like it's a hodgepodge of like pick and choose your spiritual things that you like and discard the rest of the spiritual practice that you don't like, and then calling that like I'm not religious, I'm spiritual or New Age or whatever like that ends up honestly doing a lot more damage than good for a lot of people in some ways.
Well, 110%. I mean, you're not gonna get me disagreeing with it. I mean, sorry, thirsty. No, I mean, like, you know, and this term becomes like really fucking politicized, like if it's a left versus right issue, but like it's like the colonization of the sphere and like introducing like this hyper capitalistic like corporate system that like works if you want to sell Pepsi, like it works if you want to sell like Doritos, but then applying it to ayahuasca and ibogaine, right? And
it's not a commodity.
It's not a fucking commodity. And so you have people come in of like, how can I extract this medicine so that I kill it in sales this year? You know, it's from this very like, you know, like I'm taking power over this modality because I need it to give me something when these indigenous modalities are here to open you up to and to just open up windows inside yourself, and you have to have the tools and resources to know what to do when those windows open and you see some things that can be difficult. And so that's the major problem is that like, it is this very like colonialist westernized paradigm of like hound, extract, I need this, what can I get from this? And there's no offering, there's nothing else to like, you're not focused on forming a relationship or doing all the groundwork. And religion has so many problems, and I am not advocating for people to be religious. Please don't like take it as that. But like they were systems that had a whole, you know, template of things that were based around all life. And then we have New Age spirituality, which is like this like poo-poo platter of like grab what you want, like try it, take it, you know, and yeah.
Checking off a list too. Have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done this? I literally had a conversation with someone this week. They're like, have you done this? Have you done that?
Yep.
Have you done this?
Yep.
What do you think of the spiritual scene here? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, what is that what you came down here to check things off? And so much of that too is like, I used to have a lot of opinions about using the word colonizer because it's been so it's been like abused and like just so everything's colonization. And in some essence that's actually true, but I've really come around to like starting to understand like, oh, if I'm doing some sort of deep spiritual practice and it's driving me to more capitalistic ways of being in the world, I'm probably not integrating the lessons, or I'm probably, I don't know like a true path in the world. It doesn't have to be psychedelics, any true path that has you wanting to extract and consume more from the planet and from other people. Right. And so that's why like immediately it's the vibe check for anyone that's offering a medicine, and I can tell immediately like where their intention lays. If it's run as, not that you shouldn't run a business. Like, again, this is this whole point of everything. And you kind of qualify this at the beginning, is not to shame people or make them wrong, but just to maybe get some altitude on like, what are you really doing, right? Like, what are we really doing? And is it, at the end of the day, is it making a contribution that is it expanding our consciousness and making us more loving people, or you know, healing the world, or is it actually amplifying this late stage capitalist fucking mess that we're in, while gaslighting ourselves that we're doing good work in the world?
Yeah, no, I mean, once again, fully agree with you, 110%. I mean, God, what do I even want? I have so much I could say.
Yeah, say it all.
No, I mean, I'm just like, what the fuck I mean, it's not like, we don't want to get like lost in like the terms that have been politicized or all this, but like, it's having like an integrated relationship with yourself and the world. And that's I think the buzzword that gets lost in the sphere is integration. When you step into these states and you're like, well, everything is love. And like, oh my God, we're all one. It's like, yes, you are accessing different parts of the brain or consciousness, and you're able to like step into a heightened state of consciousness. But like, that's not where the world is at. Yeah. And what I see sometimes when I go at the community, I really mean this most of the time, not all the time, because I have my shadows. Of course. Most of the time, it is coming from a place of love. Yeah. And sometimes it's like, yo, I need to nail
sometimes
this
I just love fucking shit.
You know my girlfriend, she comes in, she's like, yo, I need to get off the fucking phone. Like, she's like, Zach, that's like, I'm like, you know, you see the inner team come out. And so it's like, you're being fucking mature. I'm like, yeah, I know, my bad. But no, it's like, what I want to say here, I'm losing my fucking train of thought. But no, it is really coming from a place of love. Yeah. It is coming from a place of unconditional love. But when I go at people, I call this shit out because it's like, we're not given a toolkit to know how to deal with blasting off or heightened states of consciousness. Sometimes we blast off because we're experiencing too much trauma in the body, and the self and the psyche need a release. Sometimes it's induced by plant medicine, breath work, however it's induced, okay? But there needs to be more guide and resources on how to come down, take what you have, and pull it into the rest of you, right? Not fracture from who you are and then just discard it, right? Because then you just become a spiritual persona that's no one, right? And you're flat and you're empty.
They're so uninteresting too.
Yeah, you're so fucking, you watch, there's nothing behind the eyes, you know? And so we have a problem where in the spiritual New Age sphere where I do see people like kind of isolate themselves off from the rest of the world. And it's beautiful and amazing that you're able to create these communities, these insulated spaces where there's so many good vibrations running through it. But I see this massive disconnect from the world and what's going on. And it's like, if your spirituality is not integrated into the health and well-being of the world and humanity at large, like, are you missing something? Yeah. And, you know, I'll tell you this, like, I was so confused. You might even see me get a little emotional. I was so confused because it's like so much of my background and my work had been human and civil rights. Like I was literally going to law school to be a child advocacy lawyer. And then I was entering into these new age spaces and they were telling me that none of it mattered, you know, that like they chose the abuse, you know, and that like everything's perfect as is and this. And it was almost, it was driving me to psychosis because I was then fracturing from my own experiences, you know, and eventually, like I said, I just felt numb and dead on the inside. I was like, what the fuck? I'm doing all the work.
Not, you know what I mean? How could you not feel numb when you literally have to numb yourself to like the actual tragedies and the real, like the reality of life, right? You have to normally numb. If everything's all good and everyone chose it from a soul level, which like, sure, there may be some level of truth to that, but it doesn't,
lack of integration.
It doesn't mean anything when there's literally like children being slaughtered today, you know, in the Middle East, right?
Yeah,
or like what's
100%.
going on all over the world. That's just one of many, many places. But it seems like, you know, if all this spiritual proliferation really was doing something for good and a consciousness raising level, then the world wouldn't look the way it looks right now.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
I'm like, with you. No, I'm like, Zach, you're fucking saying it. No, like finally, like other people online with thousands of followers are saying the same shit now. Good, you know, create an army. No, but it was like, and I remember whatever, like, you know, my parts of my career were really hurt by speaking on issues that were going on from a political and current event level. And it's like, I felt the soul ejecting back into my body. I'm like, oh, whoa, holy shit. You're not like, like what the fuck what was I taught? And like, yes, like this is me, you know, and not saying that's everyone's path, but for me, that is my path to large degrees. And I was completely shut off and severed from it and encouraged to sever from it. And I watch a lot happen in new age conscious spaces. And so, and once again, it's a too heavy of a focus on the self, like the individualistic self. Like everything becomes about my self-actualization. Everything comes about me feeling good. And you're actually not learning relationship, right? Or you're learning it from we talked about this, from a very mechanistic level. Like, oh, you did your hand here, so my hand goes here, and I look, and it's like you're not
breathe like this, like gaze, blink every 45 seconds, right? Like,
it's fucking robotic.
Deep. Yeah,
don't have a spontaneous human reaction, right? Like, and it's like, oh my fucking god, like we're humans, we're so damn complex, and you want to put everything through a fucking calculator, and so there's just I just watch a lot of people get worse. And like I said, we need this stuff. And we also need it to help make the world a better place. And we need these awarenesses to help make the world a better place. And, you know, you have too many people I see who are brilliant or they're well educated, they're very gifted and they're skilled. And they've separated themselves from all the problems of the world or engaging in those things because they've been indoctrinated, well, I'm above it. And I can't give energy to that. I can't absorb that. And it's like, oh my God, Sherry, we fucking need you. Like, holy shit. Like, you went to school for 10 years for this shit. Like, the sound healing's great. Like, do both. Like, you know what I mean? Like, fucking, like, do both. Like you're giving cardiac surgery to kids in Guatemala. And now you're just sound healing in like, you know, at a white wellness resort. Like, no, we need both. We need both, you know? And so, you know, it's really, I feel like it's really important to just correct these messages and like bring people back into the foray. But I really think, you know, and I have no problem talking about it, but like, this is where I think a lot of people saw like the Aubrey Marcus stuff and they were just like, oh shit, like, this guy doesn't have all the answers, or it doesn't feel like it, you know? And so, like, and I think people are really starting to wake up and be like, oh, this is like, yes, we've been taking advice from people that were highly successful in business and could articulate some things that no one else was articulating. What a beautiful thing. Yeah. And like, they're still operating from a very limited paradigm that doesn't feel connected to me or what I want to do in this world.
For sure. It's kind of like what we were talking before we hit record about the environments you grew up in too. Like you being from Philly, me being from, you know, northern Alberta originally, but then living in the city in coastal BC, like around regular people, kind of how regular people interact and how like regular conflict goes for the average human. And it's not elevated. And it's like, you know, we didn't come from hyper protected communities where like you didn't see any violence or you didn't see anything. And those like that type of humanity to me often feels more safe and real than like the most elevated. Like, it's so interesting now because I for myself have come kind of like full circle in this thing where it was like, I only surrounded myself by people that were in the work and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, my partner, they got to be this and they got to meet all this stuff. And then I just like, holy fuck, did I get tired of hearing those people speak because it actually, they felt less real. And now, like, I've said this, I think in a previous podcast or somewhere online, like, my bros at the jiu-jitsu gym, like, they're some of the biggest homies.
I thought it was AI.
What's that?
I thought it was AI.
Yeah, that AI as well, too. You know what I mean? GPT for sure, then Claude, you know what I mean? And then real human beings. But, like, it's just interesting that I've kind of, it's not that I've eschewed all my practices and everything like that. I'm really grateful that I did all that work. But only so I could return to being with normal people and have conversations that are like completely normal, but maybe would elevate them into doing something in the world that they wouldn't normally do or something. But holy fuck, did I ever get exhausted about that? With those types of conversations and community and way in speaking and like how I had to sit and how I had to breathe and like in order to be a certain archetype that is like really someone else projecting a wound or something that they heard that they latched onto. And what you see more and more in a lot of those communities that I found is like, and of course we all know this, but discernment. And I just became really discerning of like, first of all, like, is this true? Like for me, you know what I mean? And second of all, like, what is it that this person feels the need to transmit this information? You know what I mean? Like I've spoke about this online. Many of these quote unquote relationship teachers that I've interacted with personally, that I know I'm adjacent to, that's a degree of separation away, are some of the worst relationship holders. Like they're relationally, they're a fucking disaster, right? And you can kind of apply that to many of these different niches in the whole kind of cornucopia of spirituality. But just using discernment is something that we are very quick to hand over. I've never really liked Aubrey Marcus just because I thought he was kind of an egotistical guy. He's had some really interesting guests on. I don't know him. I don't like disrespect him or anything. I don't know him as a human being. I'm sure he's got a really good heart. But like, I've never been like, that's the guy I want to take fucking spiritual advice from. Like, for
sure. That's like, I don't know, like, I don't even talk shit. Like, yo, bro, maybe you are like cool, but like, I don't fucking know. But I never looked and was like, let me follow you word for word. Or like, you know, like exactly. let me listen to all your podcasts and take this in. Like, it just wasn't. And so I always thought it was interesting with the people that we pedestalized.
We're good.
Don't worry. I always thought it was just we were the people that we pedestalized in these spaces. And like I said, like they got very good at monetizing certain things. They were physically attractive, right? They could put on a good show. Not even that they're not valid, authentic people, but yeah, it just. I don't know, man. It just didn't fucking feel real, and it did feel. It just felt like I was encouraged to like adopt a shitload of personas, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, and it was like, yo, like I am socially awkward. Like there's nothing. Like I don't think that's ever fucking going away. Like that's built in. Like I'm fucking socially awkward, right? Like I have just all these weird inconsistencies or whatever, and it's like, yo, bro, like, and there's no amount of fucking meditating or breath work that's gonna like. I'm gonna be fucking weird. So like. It's and you can't root that out of people. You know what I mean? And you want everyone to be this like divine, and that's divine, whatever you even want to throw up saying it, but like what we term divine masculinity, right? Divine masculinity. Like that's gonna look different in a fucking accountant, right? Versus someone on a ranch, versus someone like, and you just want to give people this one for one. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at.
I totally understand. Yeah. And that's what happens. Like, especially in the world that I came from, they even had a name for them, like data bots, right? Like guys that did David Data's work and then just kind of sound like
I
these.
Didn't hear that.
Okay, so they'd call them data bots, where it's like, oh, I did the fucking workshop or I did the program with data. Now it's like, this is how I sit and this is how I move. And like, it's just, to me, I actually feel like we have less access to ourselves than ever more, right? Because we're playing. Well, exactly. Where's the fun in that? I know. And it, I just found myself getting more and more rigid and then more inaccessible to other people and to myself. And it's like, I feel like I was just taking a breath of fresh air when I stepped outside of that paradigm. And I was just like, wow, I can be all that for sure. I could put that on and like, I don't have to. And the interesting thing is like a lot of that work that I did, which was really beneficial in some ways, like it's in me, but I don't have to do anything about it. You know, I get the reflection. It doesn't matter how I'm fucking sitting. You know what I mean? People are like, wow, I just like really feel something. It's like, there's been a cultivation there for sure. But so often, and I think, especially in a leadership position, I want to talk about this, is like we have to kind of go through things to kind of transcend them as well. And transitioning into a little bit about what you do, I want to talk a little bit about that. You know, like what is it now? Because I believe your story is a little bit, I did a little bit of research, like, you know, had a health crisis, kind of went to alternative or medicine more or less, ended up getting in the shamanic kind of world as well and doing some work in that space, correct? Yeah. And then have obviously kind of come out of that or beyond that. And I'm curious like what that looks like today. And
I mean, I don't know what the fuck to even call myself anymore. Like the Instagram
changes every podcast.
Changes every podcast. You know I mean? Every single one. I'm a work mentor now. Like I'm a leadership mentor. So I work with spiritual. I don't know. Yeah, no, I mean, so you know, heavy history, childhood trauma, like a lot of people in this. That's how we get into this. And but when I was 20, I was doing NGO work in Kenya, South Africa. When I left, I started getting really ill. And you know, at first they thought it was HIV, then they thought it was cancer, like they thought it was Crohn's, and then they're like, we don't know what's wrong with you, your organs are shutting down. Good luck to you. And like they're like, here's an antidepressant. I'm like, whoa. And so ultimately I was bedridden for 4 years, like, and I could not go out of bed, and was just wasting away. I lost my gallbladder, I developed type 1 diabetes, my intestinal tract wasn't working, I had chronic kidney stones, and so I had no choice but to go into alternative medicine. This is a crazy story. I had no choice but to go into alternative medicine, and I went to a doctor who was also a naturopath 4 years into the illness, and he was like, I want to energetically test your blood to see what it wants. And I was like, bro, what the fuck did you just say? Like, it's like, what the fuck am I doing here, dude? Like, I was like, he's like, trust me, like, you have nothing to lose. I was like, I'm going to put a tuning fork over your blood and it's going to energetic. I'm like, this, you're speaking Chinese to me. But I was like, okay, fuck it, whatever. And he ran the test and he was like, your blood says that you still have an infectious disease from Africa, or your time in Africa, and that you need to go to this doctor, this specific doctor who comes to New York 2 weeks of the year because he lives in Nigeria. Wow. And I was like, can you just give me the fucking pharmaceutical? He's like, your blood wants this. And so I was like, well, okay, sure. You know, I'm just like, I have nothing to lose. Like, I'm dying, you know? And so this guy eventually did come to New York. I went up to this man's apartment in Washington Heights. There's just nothing but a fold-out table, a chair, and a microscope in the living room, and just tons of boxes. I'm like, this is so sketchy. And, you know, I talked to him. He's like, no, I work for the CDC. He's like, I used to work for the CDC. But he was like, there's so many problems within, you know, pharma and all that. Like, I left. He's like, I only come to New York for 2 weeks of the year because I came here to just help you guys because your medical system misses so much. Yeah. So he's like, just give me a stool sample. I'll figure it out. And I'm like, okay. So, you know, he ran his tests and he came back and he's like, you have the second most deadly infectious disease in the world behind only malaria. It's like, you should have died by now. But obviously I've been taking supplements and vitamins for 4 years. Just keep my immune system high enough. Yeah. And he told me, drink these jugs of African plants for 2 weeks, grounded up African plants that have anti-parasitic properties. Drink this and you'll be fine. And I'm like, once again, like, everyone's taking my money. This is bullshit. But I'm like, I'm so desperate. I have nothing to lose. And so I'm like, whatever, fine. So drank these jugs of plants for 2 straight weeks. It was the most horrific tasting liquid ever. And bro, I kid you not, day 15, I got out of bed and I was like, I feel different. And I walked out of my apartment, and it made me get teary-eyed saying this, and then went to the closest gym and lifted a weight for the first time in like years. And I was like, oh my God, this thing fucking worked. Wow. And so I had my life back. And it was funny because I remember whether there was a nurse or someone else was like, do you believe in God now? And I was like, nah, like, this is all coincidence. Like, oh, you're this, but I'm glad.
Still no.
I'm glad I'm fucking here.
What's it going to take?
Yeah, I'm like, whatever. Like, oh God, he's still not getting the message. You know, the Arcturians were like, he's still not getting it. So like, you know, and then I went back to school and I was like, I'm going to do all the things right now. And, you know, I'm going to play the game. And, you know, so I went the opposite way. Usually people like free spirits after so I'm like, let me be a corporate lawyer. So, you know, so I went back and I was a failing student my whole life and then was getting fancy scholarships at top law schools. Yeah. And, you know, more trauma ended up coming up and, you know, it was beyond the scope of what, you know, therapists could deal with. You know, it was revolved around child sexual abuse. I'll share it. It's okay. And so, eventually just something blew open for me. And spiritually, like, I don't know why. Like, I literally, like, went home one day, I'll be honest, I, like, typed into my thing, like, how do you know spirits are talking to you, you're schizophrenic? Like, I was literally looking up the fucking thing, you know? I was just confused, you know?
Totally.
But, you know, it's just having a lot of synchronicities and these intuitive hits and very commonplace things for a lot of people that end up in this sphere, you know? And so eventually, like, I was just shown that, like, law school wasn't the path for me. And that was...
Were you already in law school at that point?
Yeah, and I did well. And I was, but like, I disclosed my abuse to law school. I didn't really handle it well. I was getting like, oh God, this, it feels like I'm running up a mountain here. You know, I came from like 10% of the resources that everyone else does, and they're still wanting me to prove it because like mommy and daddy aren't like a federal judge and yada yada. Right. So like, I'm like, I am getting exhausted pushing up against a system that feels like it doesn't necessarily want me, you know? So I got the hits and I withdrew, and then I had been reading books about like just what had gone on in my life, and it did match up with what was called shamanic callings and shamanic initiations, and that term is so misused by like the Illuminati and all that stuff, and even I still feel uncomfortable like borrowing that term from like indigenous cultures, but like, you know, indigenous cultures, like there's always a village shaman, and they had a very unique upbringing that tended to be involve psychosis, involve mysterious illness, like all the stuff. But like elders would take that person, identify them, get them prepped, and then, you know, they'd come back in and they knew how to work with plant medicine and, you know, guide people on a deep level in a variety of ways. And so I noticed, you know, whether it's right or wrong, I was going through some really makeshift, weird, westernized, modern version of that. I got hired off the street at a wellness center. Wow. I was literally walking by a street, and they're like, really high, and they're like, what do you, I'm like, I shouldn't be working, but I'm interested in this stuff. And they hired me, and clients started showing up. But I noticed very quickly that like, they're coming to me for trauma. I would try to refer them out to therapists. They said the therapist sucked. And so I was like, okay. So I started learning and teaching and training everything I could. And I was just kind of filling a hole for like, the mental health system had failed me. It had failed these people. The spiritual system, you know, I don't want to go too far into it. We talked about like failed me in those ways and was clearly failing these people. And so I was doing my best to kind of bridge that gap. But like I was also fucking exhausted and tired. I had no support. I'm living in a moldy apartment in St. Louis while everyone else is manifesting like yachts and shit. And I'm like in the depths of the deepest trauma. I'm like, where the fuck? Why am I not in Tulum? You know, and I would get the advice. It's nice, but like, so you know, but eventually, like my work transitioned to actually training and mentoring therapists, psychologists, coaches, and other alternative practitioners, and like the integration of all these different modalities. The last couple years, I found my way more into what's going on politically, and speaking on that, and even kind of taking some of these, you know, deeper principles around, you know, energy and human relationships and trauma and applying it, because you have what seems to me like highly psychologically fractured men like with nuclear warheads at their disposal. I'm like, oh, that's like a, you know, we should look into that. Like, why aren't these motherfuckers doing the inner work? Like, you know, wouldn't like, you know, we're all like, maybe be good for, you know, Trump and Netanyahu and Putin to like, you know, take a dose of psilocybin, right? Totally. And so I just started looking into that direction and speaking on and those things. I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna build a business around this. I don't know how the sales funnel is gonna look with this. Like I'm deeply confused on how to integrate this right now in full transparency. My business, like I don't know what the fuck I am right now. Like I don't. I am interested in running for office one day, but like it has to be under very specific circumstances, and like I have to feel that like I can give something. I'm just not like some weird guy from the outside that just gets chewed up by a machine. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I wish I could like drop a great, you know, program and be like, well, I have figured that like find the activist in you. I don't have anything like that, you know. So I'm just still helping people learn and helping people be the best person they can be, and that's it. And that's what it looks like for me right now, I think, you know. What's
your take on like this intersection? I think I saw a post recently between kind of politics and spirituality.
Yeah.
Because most people see that as those like diametrically opposed things, right? Like the more spiritual people get, the less political they get.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say the same is always true the opposite way, but maybe there's a quite distorted spiritual like belief system in the political realm, or at least in the everywhere actually. It gets co-opted as a reason to kind of push political agendas through, like under the guise of like God and different things.
God told me to do this.
Exactly. And you can find it in Christianity as well as Islam, as well as Judaism, like everywhere. They kind of have they use them more as tools for what feels like not very
upholding
good things.
Control and oppression and things.
Exactly. Like one or the other. So, you know, what's your take on all of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because maybe that's why we steer away from it in like this modern wellness sphere, because like we see people take religion and politics and it becomes like theocracy, and it's like I'm a divine ruler, and it's like, oh, they're dictatorship, you know. So I understand why there's fear around that intersection, but like I think it's ridiculously stupid to think that these spheres are mutually exclusive, and to peddle narratives that they don't intersect, I think does an incredible amount of harm. Like a lot of the trauma that I incurred growing up was because institutional systems failed me, right? And a lot of the harm that people are coming in to ayahuasca or these other modalities is because of institutional and systemic harm, right? Or wealth inequality, or like not being able to meet basic survival needs, and what that does to the nervous system, you know, how a teacher handled me or responded to me growing up. And so, I mean, just look at our fucking school system. Like it's training us to be robots and cyborgs and stomping out like our ingenuity and creativity. And then we want to say that things are not political. Like, are you, I'm sorry, I'm going to get like, are you fucking kidding me? Right. And so it's like, you know, I said this, but like spirituality is this understanding of that we're connected and that we're belonging, and this deeper connection to self. And then politics is organizing and structuring that belonging. Like it's creating structure around that belonging, like divvying up resources. How do we support one another effectively? And I get that like American politics is such bullshit and so bloated that we're like, well, fuck this. And I'm not, and the dialogue around online is so toxic. So I understand why we're all separating. Like I did for years as well. But like, if we don't pay attention to what's going on, it's going to chew up the world. Like it's not like false alarms. And so we got to figure out a way to get rid of the fucking polarization or like the me versus you. And we have to start applying these principles and like stepping up, whether it's in our own communities or, you know, our greater society and world, and figure shit out. You know, our leaders and people making decisions on our behalf, right, are not tapped into the awarenesses that me and you have spent years cultivating. And then we're giving our power to those people, right, to run the world and to make decisions on our behalf. Like, why the fuck are we not getting involved? You know? And so
that's a really, I haven't really actually sat with that point in particular. It's like, oh yeah, I'm doing all this work, and then simultaneously I'm kind of handing my power away to someone else who's done none of it. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, for sure. At the end of the day, it kind of comes back like I feel better about myself, and like I feel a little more knowledgeable, and maybe there's a few people in my life that impacts, my partners and friends and things like that, my family of origin. But like at the end of the day, the majority of the time, I'm also just kind of living and going through the motions of a society that I didn't construct, and I'm also, like a lot of people are now that go down a more spiritual path, I'm actively in resistance to like contributing to in some way, even just my voice. Like I actually made a post the other day, you know, at the time of this recording, that they're trying to push that bill through with all the public land that they want to like sell off to private investors. And I never make political posts or stories or something like that. And like I shared one, and it was just like, call your senator and tell him he's a little bitch for selling off this private land. Because for me, like that's like
it's hitting home now.
I was like, fuck, man. But like, you know, I've been super fortunate. I'm blessed with all the, you know, I growing up in Canada. There's not a lot of there is now, but there wasn't a lot of polarization. I grew up in a secure home with a stable family, and I'm white, and I went to a good school, and blah 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 blah. Like never marginalized in any regard ever, and have had every opportunity I could ever want. You know what I mean? And it's amazing. And I also really fucking like being outside in national parks, and I'm like, now I'm like, well, fuck that, like, you know. And it's like, it's unfortunate that it's taken me 35 years to have any like it's not that I've never been interested politically. Of course, during the pandemic and COVID and stuff like that, I was quite active online and stuff like that, like many people were. But just really recognizing like, oh, like no amount of spiritual cultivation or practice is actually going to change the decisions that another like a politician is making. I mean, maybe if we go super cosmic with it on some energetic
if we switch the
stuff,
morphogenic field,
exactly, but like on the day-to-day fucking thing, it's like I'm not stopping Trump from hitting the red button and like making Iran fucking parking lot, man. You know what I mean? Exactly. Yeah, and so it's just that's a really interesting take, and it's not often you see people that go down like have done the work you've done and done the experiences you had that, like you said, like go out and like, I'm going to be a corporate lawyer. And then it's like, oh, maybe not that, but like still like, hey, I might actually consider running for office one day. Yeah. Really, really interesting.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I appreciate you like sharing your story. And like, that's sometimes my perspective with politics was similar to you as well. For me, sometimes too, it's also like, maybe this is the next phase or stage of whatever the fuck the evolution of this path is. I think for a lot of us, like, we recognize we come into the sphere because we were so just kind of in like coping mechanisms and adaptive behaviors to certain things. And we're just kind of, spinning through the same cycles over and over again. And we get into this work to kind of become aware and conscious and to get out of that and to be more aware of how we engage with ourselves and our life and to, come back into our true self, so to speak, all the language and verbiage.
Yeah.
And maybe that next step is, okay, what does that look like on a collective level? And like, how does this work apply there? And what does a healthy school system look like? What does a healthy, environmental science department look like? Or, taking care of our national parks, right? Or looking after like nature. Like, what does that look like? Where are we being hindered on those levels? Where are like these people not understanding what it means to have a connection to nature and to be in reciprocal relationship of this, right? And how can I, step in and offer what I have in those areas and stuff? Because like the system we have in place, it is designed to run the world into the ground. Like I was an economics student, like our systems are built on never-ending growth, right? From like a resource that's unsustainable. It will not work. And so like we have to develop new systems and we have to develop it around our healthy awarenesses and a healthier state inside, but we got to now bring it and anchor it, and it's really important. And I think like people are really missing it. They're starting to come around to it, but like, I think they're really starting to get to it. It's not everyone's path. I don't believe that everyone has to be involved on this level. I don't, but like, I think there are a lot that have been misled and are staying away from a civic duty that we're responsible for. The other thing I want to put in of like, I want to just keep going. I'm like, should I go? I'm like, I'm going to keep fucking going, dude.
Go, dude.
I mean, bro, like even America, like America has real big issues and problems even from the beginning. Like it absolutely was founded on genocide and slavery and systemic oppression. And if I'm going to say something that, might get me canceled or whatever, but like if you read like the Constitution and like the Declaration of Independence, like these dudes were tapping into something. Like it was so fucking far ahead of its time, right? This notion and this belief, even if they weren't enacting at the time, that all men under God were created equal. I mean, Abraham Lincoln led America off of civil war, right? And brother killing brother, like the destruction of America. And he said all the time that he was spiritually guided. He said, I am not a religious man, but he is like, I am embodied in these values and principles that every man is created under equal. Like we cannot do this to one another. Yeah. Like this violates natural law, And he said, something else is guiding me. Like, I don't understand, but like, I know it's guiding me, And that force helped him navigate what really was an impossible situation. And so to say that this hasn't been that spirituality hasn't already been intersecting, it absolutely has. Our political systems and our leaders are so bloated and egotistical and narcissistic that yes, I don't think it fuses itself in maybe the same way, but like it's already been happening. There have been leaps in the way that we look at human rights and autonomy and sovereignty, and that there's a deeper awareness there. Does that make sense? I mean, I'm going on.
Absolutely, keep going.
So I mean, that's if you're if you're feeling good and your heightened states of bliss come at the expense of millions of other people who can't feed themselves. Like, I mean, I'm not telling you to go out tomorrow, right, and to fucking do something, but you got to be aware of it at least, you know? I can feel, I'm an empath, and so no, but I'm, you know, I'm sensitive, and I can feel like I went to like Nasara one time in Costa Rica, and I could feel like the fucking robbing of the indigenous communities. I could feel like, and I'm just like, this is so wrong, but yet it's so spiritual here. I'm like, this is so, and I can feel in other places where there's an integration, you know, and there's a healthy respect, right? That's what I'm implying right now. And so these are things that we have to be aware of, and people are cutting themselves off, and then they're wondering why I'm doing all the spiritual stuff and I feel so unhappy. Like, bro, because you literally are disassociating from a relationship to humanity that we are naturally supposed to be connected into, you know, and you've disconnected on a subconscious level.
Absolutely. That's like, we were speaking off camera before this, but, and maybe I touched on it a little bit, but I've never been to Tulum, and Tulum is one of those places. It's a Nosara, it's
100%.
It's an Ibiza, it's I don't know, all these different places that we sometimes disconnect from the idea that, hey, there was an indigenous people here. And one of the things in this last week, because I didn't plan on coming there, but one of these things that I really got interested was just, first of all, just like seeing it with my own eyes. Like, what is really happening here versus what you see on Instagram. And for anyone that just wants to know, like, most of Tulum does not look anything like it does on Instagram. There's a very small, you know, not a very small, but a relatively small area that looks like that, and the rest of it looks kind of like Mexico looks, where there's a lot of garbage and there's no roads, and there's you know, people living in shacks and stuff like that directly across from you know, very expensive brand new condos, but it's very Mexico, right? Which I love. Right? And those are the areas that I ended up hanging out most in, talking to locals and just really asking, like, hey, what's your feel on this in the last 15, 20 years of how things have evolved here? And you know, they for them, it's like, because they didn't choose into the system that we're all playing. Of course, they also like to have more resources of rich white people coming there and spending money, and the cost of living has gone up, and things were simpler before. So like, it's very complicated because everybody is vying and fighting for the same resources, and so it can look sometimes like, oh, but look at all the money we're bringing into this economy. And it's like, yeah, but at what cost? You know, like, this place is fucking. There's Mayan, I think it's Mayan, like, temples everywhere, basically in this area. Like, basically it goes from like resort right into temple, into these, you know, cenotes and these like sacred sites and stuff. And it's kind of all been colonized and commercialized. And I'm the same way as you, man. It's like, I get the beauty, and I get like why people want to go there. And like, I can't feel integrity there the whole time. Like, I feel like I'm fractured a little bit the whole time, where I'm like, I'm one of these people now. So it's complicated. And for me, that's, if there's not a direct type of relationship and integration with the local community, where like you're not just breaking even with them, but you're actually like giving a lot back and actually raising the standard of living in all these places that you're going, you are extractive. And then if you're doing it under the guise of spirituality, that's where it goes from like kind of just being grossed out to like being, I get a little like, fuck you. Like, you know what I mean? Because like, you're actually taking the step backwards. And like I was saying earlier about, you know, spiritual communities, the community aspect has been a big part of the spirituality, right? It's like spiritual community. And it's like, no, it's not just our community where we are in our boho chic fucking condo. It's like, we're doing this work in order to give to the greater community. And I'm going to call myself out. Like, I am not some saint where I'm doing all this, like I'm giving away all these things, but I certainly, at least, I oftentimes find myself being like, I really do need to do more. Like, I need to do something with all of this that's not about making money and not about, you know, and a true Sangha like gives. I've spent some time in different countries, and, you know, in my own journey of going to places that felt like, oh, like the spiritual community that forms around whatever this is, whatever, you know, devotional kind of lineage it is, they're deeply integrated into reciprocity, not only with the land, but also with like people that don't have anything. And like really helping them come up and really offering them support. And without that, it's just more hyper-capitalism guised as spirituality.
110%. I mean, I'll even share with you real quick. Like, do you have more time?
Yeah, of course.
bro, I did my first ayahuasca experience like 2 months ago. You know, yeah, 2 months ago, around 2 months ago, and people were surprised that I waited this long to even do Aya, but I was like, I literally am not getting called. You know, I don't feel that pull, and then suddenly I did. And bro, I mean, I went into Aya and I was like, oh man, all these new age fuckers, they always get to feel amazing and they're always blissed out. Like, I want to do Aya. My intention for Aya is unconditional love and joy. I'm so negative all the time. I'm always talking shit online. Like, pump me with the euphoria. You know, right? Like,
the bliss chemical.
Yeah, I want to feel good. I want this counterbalance or whatever. You know, I was like, I know I'm not telling you what to do, Aya, but like, I'm kind of like giving you a nudge, like, hey, right? And I went in and fuck, man, and like, I took the first 3 shots. I took the first shot. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling good. Like, okay, I took the second shot, and then it was like a light switch got flipped and I was on all fours, like dying in terror and puking and fear. And I'm like, fuck this. Like, I'm like, yo. And it went on for like hours and I wasn't blasted off. It was all somatic with me. And, eventually I could feel like I could communicate with my own intuition or with the medicine itself. I'm like, yo, like something, like what's going on, what childhood trauma I'm bringing up. And I heard like you're shedding the ancestral energy behind Zionism. And I was like, what the fuck is that? Am I making shit up? And it's like, no, like this is real. Like, lean into this. And then images of the Holocaust started coming up. And then I was like transported like right into the Holocaust and started experiencing it like viscerally and seeing it. And I was like, fuck. And then our friend who was taking medicine next to us is German, and we decided to take it right after Holocaust Remembrance Day. And so, there's just a lot moving on. There's forgiveness and all this stuff. And like, I had ancestors come through and be like, yo, like this is genocide. Like, feel genocide right now. And then was like, and don't let this happen to Palestinians. Like, and I was just like, I have an Instagram with a following. I don't know what to do, but but this is my experience. Yeah. And and I had this moment where I did feel connected to something higher or spirit. And I had this moment where I'm on the medicine and I am like, bro, I've been doing this work for 7 years. Like, I am like holding space for the heaviest trauma all the time. Like, almost like half of my clients went through child sexual abuse or domestic violence, or like, can you throw me a fucking bone? Like what? Like, yo.
No,
like,
here's the Holocaust.
Yeah, I was like, ecstatic dance maybe? Like what? Like, what? I ain't gonna sacral chakra up and have all the pleasure in the world. Like this is what, like, what? And the messages I got back were, isn't about you. Yeah. Like, this isn't about you. If what was happening in the world wasn't happening, this wouldn't be your experience, but because of what's happening in the world is something that you're deeply ancestrally connected to, this is your experience. And you went this level because your body and system can hold it. And that was it. And I was like, I didn't come out of it like, I was like, that was it. That was it. And it was like, this move through your system, congratulations. Yeah. But like, are those the awarenesses that are needed? And are we somehow potentially subconsciously blocking ourselves off from it because we're sending messages that we can't go here, And so this is not sexy work. This was not fucking fun. No. I did not enjoy that at all. And is that the type of stuff that gets us to the space of like, actually shifting the world that we always speak about in these spaces? Like, I want to raise the conscience. Well, bitch, it might be this.
Truly, though. No. I 100% agree. And like, one thing is, I still say, and that's the thing about this is like, I talk a lot of shit, but I'm also still actively in these worlds because like, I can do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't talk about things that I haven't experienced, right? Yeah. Like, so I've been sitting with ayahuasca for 10 years. I sat like 3 weeks ago, right? And same thing. It was like, it's often I have some level of connection to something beautiful, but like, if you want to connect to humanity, you have to be open and available to be connecting to all dimensions of humanity, which some of it's really beautiful, some of it's fucking awful and terrifying. Yeah. And I have tons of stories, including, and not the only one, being in ceremony with someone who her and I both had a Holocaust experience, 7 years ago. Whoa. And it was I had just read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl,
Okay.
like on the plane ride there. So it was very much like in my awareness. And I had the whole night I was in this thing. And then the next morning, I didn't know she was in that experience either. And we talked about it. And it was like, even this previous time that I sat, I was like, what is it that I'm moving through right now? And it's like, it's not yours. Yeah. Like this isn't yours. Like it's not even your like fucking families right now. It's like the world. It's like, and for anyone that sat with medicine like that, they understand what we're talking about. Yeah. And like, that's why it's like, I'm not here to say, don't do these things. Certainly it's not for everyone. Yeah. But like, because I think we do, I believe that these are intelligences. These are plant intelligences. There's all types of consciousness. And they're like, yo, you're in the corner right now, and like you guys need to fucking make something happen. And like, yes, this is gonna proliferate everywhere, and it's gonna be done in some shitty ways. It's gonna be done in some really sacred ways. I've had nothing but really meticulous ceremony held when I've engaged in plant medicines because I'm fucking discerning. I'm just a discerning person, you know. But I think on some level it is what we need for sure, 100%. And everything that we've spoken about today is all about like we need more leaders that are helping integrate this stuff in the day-to-day so it doesn't just become another peak state or another like scary ayahuasca experience. It's like, cool, like you experienced all that pain through your body of like what a genocide feels like, which when you said that, I've been in those kind of states. Now what? And that's the most important. It's like after the fucking I was talking to one of my coaches the other day and he was like, after enlightenment, do the laundry, right? It's like basically this. And it's like enlightenment comes, I think, in a lot of different ways. And being enlightened to the genocides that are happening in the world, the destruction ecologically, all of that kind of stuff is super duper important.
Yeah, I'm going to say something controversial here. And we'll see. I don't think I'm going to get canceled for this one, but people will probably be angry at me in the limit space. So like, there's all this talk about like healthy masculinity. Right. And I've gotten, you know, you were in those communities and I've gotten benefit from polarity teachings and there's a lot of beauty to some of them, right, when there's nuance applied. But there's a lot of this focus on like, you know, what's healthy masculinity? Like what's the healthy man, you know? And so much of the focus is like, how do I hold structure in my relationship? You know, how do I meet my emotions and stuff? But there's this other level that like, our greatest men were profound leaders, like who shifted the course of how people saw the world and saw themselves, right? Or interacted with systems. Like if you read a biography, I said it about Abraham Lincoln, like Abraham Lincoln, if he came up in today's world, would have been diagnosed with like manic bipolar disorder. Like they wouldn't let him carry a knife on him because they were afraid he'd commit suicide. And this was a man that had been through so much turmoil and pain that when brother were killing brother, he's like, I can hold it, like I can make these decisions, you know? It wasn't all about him, you know? And he showed up in the world every day for something so beyond himself. No, I lived in South Africa. I followed the path of Nelson Mandela. And once again, a man who was in jail for decades by the people who oppressed him and came out in forgiveness and like they thought that there was going to be like another genocide. It was going to lead to like a racial genocide. And he was like, I found forgiveness in prison. We can integrate together, you know? And, you know, if you want to go back to the teachings around Jesus, like Jesus was crucified for being a threat to the Roman state. Like he was going into temple, flipping over tables because he was like, oh, there's money handlers here, you know? He, at his core, if you actually read the New Testament, I mean, this man was a civil rights activist. And so we have all this talk about like, what is it to be a healthy man? These healthy men were leaders in really profound, big ways in the world, in society, right? Leading something that created structure, leading something that dissolved or dismantled oppressive systems and, you know, got rid of slavery or got rid of corruption, you know? And I don't see the teachings around that in men's spaces. There's a lot of great work in men's spaces, but I see a shift away from that. You know, that's not, and it's like, but that's what healthy men have always done. Yeah. You know, and so that's also something that I think men in these spaces like need to look at, you know. And I think it's look, I'm having, you know, my own trouble leading a community today. So these men are leading amazing communities and spaces, and not to knock, but like there's levels to this, and like, are you cutting yourself off from the next level or not even exploring it because right now it might be outside your wheelhouse, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's so much talk about leadership in those communities, but oftentimes it comes with like either leading yourself so you can, live your purpose.
Yeah.
Which is really it's all about you. Yeah. Like, what am I here for? What am I like? Or like leading your relationship, whatever the fuck that means, versus
it's
like,
valid, which is valuable.
It's all valid. It's all valid. But
it's
it's so kind of what you were speaking to before. It's like, if it's all about me and like me having the best relationship that I can have with my partner and me living my purpose, so I feel good about what I'm doing in the world, versus like, man, when you're truly in service to something bigger than yourself, like what you receive from that, it trumps like any amount of this theoretical kind of ideas of what it means to be a man. I would go as far to say that on a biological level, it probably increases all your fucking testosterone and masculine hormones when you're like actually in a level of leadership and standing for something. I think that's what we're 100%. Meant to do. Yeah. Like, you feel more like a man. And when you're like, hey, this is like my take, this is my stand. Yeah. And like, that's the kind of leadership that we need in the world. Yeah. And I fully get like, men need healing for sure. Yeah. They need to be in those spaces to heal. They need to learn how to trust other men. They need to do all that kind of stuff. But like, in service, that's not the end product. That's the fucking beginning. Yeah. Like, that's where you start. That's just to get to baseline. Yeah. So you can actually do something with your life that feels like, I was having a conversation this morning. And I was saying this to you before we recorded too. Like, not everybody can be fucking a general or George Washington or lead to the liberation of, or Nelson Mandela or whoever it is, right? Like, of course not. But like my hope with my legacy, and given the gifts that I've given and the interest that I have in the intersection of all those things, that like I can just leave some corner of this earth better than I found it. Yeah. Like, truly. But like in a physical, actual, tangible, manifested way, where like the planet is better in some way, the surrounding community is better, the watershed, whatever the fuck it is that it ends up being, like, that is better. Not so I can put a big golden sign that says like Evan was here and made this better than it was before, but just because like that's what I want to do, because that feels like the most like powerful way to be a contributor as someone who naturally falls into the biological role of providership and presiding over something. Yeah. And if I could inspire other people maybe to do that as well, and they could, evoke their own leadership to also leave some section of the world in whether it's political or social or in some civil service or whatever it is that they end up doing in that way. Like, that's it. Like, that's it. Like, we're good. You know what I mean? We're good.
Well, I mean, I want to say, like, and I'm speaking from the lens of like, these like really, really big political figures and spiritual figures in the past, but like that dude who figured out how to like filter and give clean water to like, multiple communities or whatever, like that might be more beneficial than like the really respected and espoused yoga teacher, not to compare, but like it's, that's why, I want us sometimes to like look at these concepts of like being awake and enlightenment differently, because I've met men who they don't know what a fucking starseed is or like what, like, what I mean? Totally. But like the value and what they're doing for the world, who gives a fuck? Yeah. And so
they need to know. Yeah.
Like, what does that even fucking matter?
They probably just get in the way.
They don't even know what polarity is. They don't know what the fuck that is, whatever, right? Like, and I'm sure their wife's still happy, and like, and they're coming in, they're doing something that like is so valued and needed. And so, like, what if that's 80-90% of the journey, and the spiritual and the wellness are just 10 to 20% to aid us? And I think we can start like, shifting.
Maybe it's a little inversed, right? Yeah, where it's like, for a lot of people, and of course we're speaking to a niche of people. There's also the average people who are just fucking trying to get by and survive and suffering. That's most people. That's probably 80% of people as well. Yeah. But for the people that at least
have capital,
we're so blessed and gracious to actually have some sort of spiritual connection in their life. Regardless of how deep I judge it or not, or whatever, or the world judges it, or that, like, that the hope is that becomes more of some sort of anchor in your life. So the work that you can do in the rest of the world, the real tangible actual work is realized and better and more integrated, and you have something to lean on when it inevitably will get hard. Because the truth is, why not aspire to be someone like a great historical figure? Like, why not at least aspire to have that level of impact and that level of greatness? And if you read about any of those people, certainly they all had to lean on some sort of deep spiritual practice during that time, but it wasn't the focus and central of what everything they did in the world.
Yeah, and like I said, I think the one thing I see missing sometimes from the wellness and spiritual spaces and the men's workspaces, not all of them, but like it's principles and values. Yeah. And like, what are your principles and values? What is your moral and ethical compass, right? Because the New Age sphere tries to get you to shove that. Like, there is no right or wrong.
It's optional.
Yeah, everything.
Optional morality.
Yeah, there is no bad, there's no right or wrong. Everything just is, you know? And it's like, no, like, for men, we actually need a deep moral and ethical compass. We need to know what our principles and value systems are. And I think a big question is, are you willing to die for that? Like, that's a service to others, to me, or whatever, right? I'm not saying that's true for everyone, but like, are you willing to die for that? Where it's not about you, it's about, can I live and uphold this principle and value system because it matters this much and it is this important to our relationship as humans with one another, and I'm willing to die for it. And that's, you want to talk about holding a masculine frame, right? Like, that's it. Like you want to talk about like a spine and a back, like that's fucking it, you know? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll share one more thing here and then we'll start to wind down. But, you know, when I was working with men and run retreats, we had a retreat coming in Asheville, like the week after Helene hit, Hurricane Helene, and just devastated, you know, the city and the town and the surrounding communities. And we were like, fuck, I don't know if we should run this thing. And I've told this story on the podcast before, but essentially we ended up bringing these men in, right? Because I was like, I don't want to be extractive when people are needing food and there's no water and stuff. And fortunately, the area that we were in, you know, wasn't impacted, but it was on the premise that we are putting these men to work in the community when they get here. Like, that's what we're doing. We're spending at least, you know, half a day. We only had 3 days, so like it was a big commitment. These guys didn't come in there expecting to like be doing that. So we put them to work. Everybody was, pretty much everyone was absolutely game to do it. I think there's one guy that stayed back for whatever reason, and it ended up being like one of the most powerful and like highlights of the whole weekend. Like much more powerful than the breath work and the teachings. All beautiful work, but like, why are we doing all this? To be of service. And like, it could be as simple as that. And so, I just wanted to share that because it really, for me, it was really like, oh yeah, like this is the what for, and this is what it needs to be all about. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's where it needs to go.
Yeah, man. Awesome. Anything else you want to share before we start winding down here?
So if you're interested, no, I'm just kidding. I know. Just fucking follow me on Instagram.
What's the secret angel number? 222.
222. Yeah, no. Well, you can cut to our sacred men's work. No, I'm just kidding. Follow me on Instagram. I am Zack Alexander, Zack with a CK, and that's it. Thanks for having me on, dude. Thanks for being here.
Bro, it's been so wonderful talking to you, and I just love everything you're up to in the world. The voice that you are, like the groundedness that you are, the truth that you are, the willingness that you're, like, you know, the stuff that you say, especially in the current political climate that we have, and just your unique perspectives. Like, it takes a lot of fucking courage.
Thanks,
like
man.
Knowing that. Like, I just want to honor you for the amount of courage it takes to just like put your voice out in the world, and I know you're receiving it now, and like you will continue to receive it. Is like, not everybody loves truth. Not everybody loves our opinions. Not everybody loves our stand. And like, I really see you as a man that just lives by a moral compass and upholds a lot of values in the world. And it's just, it's just been really cool to see what you create. So
I really appreciate it. It means a lot.
All right, brother.
All right, bro.
We'll do it again soon.
Yep.
Awesome.
I'll do that.
Oh, man. Thanks, bro.
That was sacred.
Yeah, that was
That was awesome.